So let's explore peace. Better yet, let's explore choosing peace. Peace is within all of us. And I want you to really hear those words because it's like, here we go. Like, peace is a choice, it's within us all. And it's a choice no matter what is happening all around you in the world or all around you in your life. So think about that for a moment. Is peace an option in your current situation right now? Well, yeah, peace is always an option. But how often do you tell yourself, well, I'll feel better when, right? I'll feel better when something that's outside of me changes. I'll feel better when the people around me behave the way I want them to behave or think the way I want them to think. I'll feel better. I can then, tap into that peace once the challenge that I'm facing is resolved. But peace isn't something that we need to chase or find or seek, right? Peace is just always within us. It's a part of who we are. We were born peaceful, okay? We were born. So, again, think about that for a moment. We were born peaceful. It's a part of who we are. Peace is our natural state of being. We learned fear. We learned to worry. We learned to be bothered by outward circumstances. We learned to be frustrated and to feel frustrated. We weren't born anxious. We weren't born judgmental. We weren't born reactive. We were born peaceful. And so the fear that we're all experiencing, whether it's in, a health issue, whether it's in your current situation, whether it's just looking out into the world, this fear is conditioned responses that we've learned. We've been conditioned to respond in this way. So when we release these learned patterns, like they're all learned patterns. Fear is a learned pattern. Frustration is a learned pattern. To react to something outside of us is a learned pattern. And we get conditioned to respond in these ways. And when we release these learned patterns, that's when we realize we can return to who it is that we truly are, that peace that is within us. So just look at our current world. I mean, you can just pick any topic. You know why the world or say the government or this illness you have maybe or this person who likes to really trigger you in your life, you know why they have so much power over you? You know why you say I can't choose peace? Because of these conditioned responses and these learned patterns, right? We feel like we're a victim of our circumstances. Well, I can't. How can you tap into peace when the world is a mess? Or how can I tap into peace, right? When my life is on the line, I have this illness or I have this situation that I'm going through, right? So it feels really real. But we're feeding the fear, and we're feeding the fear because we've been taught to, right? Those are our learned patterns and our conditioned responses. But if we take a step back and we go, wait a minute, I'm not a victim of these circumstances. Yes, they're happening, but instead of reacting in my, conditioned responses of stress and judgment and fear, maybe I could consciously choose something that is my natural state of being. How would that change things? This is not about ignoring what's happening. It doesn't mean pretending that challenges don't exist. It means understanding that I am perceiving a certain situation in a certain way. I'm perceiving it. And why am I perceiving it? Like, why are we perceiving everything in our outside world through eyes of fear? Because we've been conditioned to do that. We've learned these patterns. We come by it honestly. This is why the outer world has so much control over us. That's why that person that knows how to, push your buttons, or the government that, loves to like pit people this side or that side, pick a side, right? Families get destroyed through, I mean, just look at, COVID, because we're all seeing it through our own perception based on, and then we react because we've been conditioned to respond in a certain way from these learned patterns. But when we can remember that peace is always an option, I don't have to feed the fear. I'm in this mindset, or I'm in this situation, and it's my perception of this situation. And if I can shift my perception, I can shift my whole experience. Nothing outside of me has to change, because that's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for, the solution to the world's government issues. I'm looking for the solution outside of myself to my health issue. I'm looking out, and when this happens, then I can feel peace. No. Then we're putting all of our peace. We're giving our peace away. We're giving our power away. And we're giving it to the outside world. So we have to come in. We're the only ones that can change our perception. And we change our perception by coming inward and coming into who we truly are. Come into our natural state of being. Peace is our natural state of being. We weren't born anxious. We weren't born fearful. We learned that. But we were born peaceful. We were born curious. We were born love. So when we can tap back into that natural state of being, we stop looking outward for it. We don't have to chase peace. It's within us. We don't have to say the outer world has to change in order for me to be peaceful. Oh, we've been conditioned to that. No, peace is here, and I get to choose it in any moment. Somebody doesn't have to change for me to feel peaceful. What I do have to change is the way I'm looking at that person or looking at that situation. So there is a practice that we can do, and this is the practice that well, first of all, you know what? You have this opportunity to come out of the head. I mean, just tap into your fingers, right? Just peace begins with me. When you feel anxious, when you feel overwhelmed, when you're feeling, oh, right? Like we all feel it. We all know what that is. But once we realize, well, these are just conditioned responses and learned behaviors or habits or patterns that we all learn. Just look at the news and you'll feel that trigger, right? Or go on social media, or, notice when you're being triggered by, somebody you work with or your boss or somebody you live with. We can feel this. We know when we're not in a state of peace. So tap into your fingers and just say the words, peace begins with me. Pause, take a few breaths. Again, peace begins with me. Come out of the outer world and come in, like be here now. Right? Take a deep breath. Peace begins with me. And then acknowledge what you're feeling. Like that's important. Take ownership of your experience. I'm feeling upset. And you can keep tapping if you want, if that's a way to calm anxiety. But just say, I'm feeling upset because of my thoughts about this person or about this situation or about my health. It's all about our own perception. We cannot change anything outside of ourselves, but we can change our own perception. We can change our own thoughts about it. Again, you can tap in, right? I'm feeling upset because of my thoughts about this. And just acknowledge your thoughts. Acknowledge the feelings that are being triggered by your thoughts. Just take ownership. of your own experience. And then shift that, right? Gently remind yourself. And this, peace begins with me. That's what you can remind yourself. Peace begins with me. But as I'm a student of A Course in Miracles, I now teach it. And there is a profound lesson in A Course in Miracles. And it says, I could see peace instead of this. So just say that. Well, I'm feeling upset because my thoughts about the situation. I'm feeling upset. Shift your perception by that lesson alone. I could see peace instead. I could think peaceful thoughts. I can come into who I am, my natural state of being. I could see peace instead. And just even those words, even if you're going, I don't know, just say them. Get used to saying them. I could see peace instead of this. How about we can now condition our own response to see peace instead? What if we learned a new pattern of tapping into our natural state of being? What if my new learned pattern was to tap into here instead of get all reacted from outside, and just say I could see peace instead of this, and then just ask yourself, how could this situation change if I viewed it through the eyes of peace or the eyes of love? If I viewed it through my natural state of being, how could this whole situation shift? Right? The outside world doesn't have to change. It's our inner landscape. It's our inner mind, how we see it, the thoughts we're thinking about it. That's what triggers those conditioned responses. If we're feeding the fear, we're going to respond in fear and react in fear. Those are learned patterns. But if we now begin to learn a new pattern, a pattern of peace, that I can see this differently. I can see peace instead of fear, right? What if I viewed this differently, right? The only thing that keeps you from peace, your natural state of being, is your choice to focus on the fear instead. Your choice to focus on the negativity instead. Your choice to focus on the illness instead. The choice to focus on the person that bothers you or triggers you, or the situation that bothers you or triggers you. So today, this week, I just encourage you to claim, take back your own power. This is our inner strength so that we can shift our perception. Okay? Breathe. Peace begins with me. I'm feeling upset because of my thoughts about this. I could see peace instead of this. I want to train my conditioned responses to come from peace and love, not fear. This is why the world has so much control over us. This is why this person has so much control over us, because we're falling back into those conditioned responses of fear. We're feeding the fear. We're feeding the frustration. We're feeding the negativity. Decide today, I'm going to feed the peace. That's who I naturally am. I'm going to learn a new behavior, one of peace. I'm going to learn the behavior of just slowing down. Peace begins with me. I'm feeling upset only because of my thoughts. I could think about this differently. I could see this differently. And in thinking and seeing it differently, I could change how I'm feeling. I can change my conditioned responses and my learned patterns. I could see peace instead of this. And then you just ask yourself, how could I see this differently? How can I think about this differently? Come into the heart space. What am I feeding? I want to feed peace, right? I could see peace instead of this. We can learn this. We can teach ourselves this. We can get out of, what we had no control over. When we all learned this when we were young. We learned fear. We learned fear when we were young. That's why it's so conditioned within us. We learned to become anxious. We learned to be frustrated. We learned to be bothered by the outside world. and our circumstances. We learned to be victims of our circumstances, but we're not. We don't have to be. Let's relearn to explore peace and explore our ability to choose peace in any given situation. So that's what this week's practice is, my friends. Right? Pause. Peace begins with me. I'm feeling upset because of my thoughts about this. I could see peace instead of this. How can I look at this differently? How can I think about this differently? That feels so much better. Then you deal with what's happening from that space. It'll change your world. Namaste, my friends. Namaste.